Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Rama 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 Hare Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraja Acharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Gaura Premanande.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So today we are very fortunate to have with us His Grace Devvrata Prabhu. I would like to introduce Devvrata Prabhu to all Kanpur devotees in brief. Devvrata Prabhu graduated with Bachelor BA in Cultural Anthropology with specialization in Eastern thoughts and practice. Became interested in spiritually at the age of 17 when I happened to read the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita as it is at the friend's house. Received my first book at a music festival in the year 2015. After reading the book, I began chanting and going to the local temple in Seattle, Washington. In the year 2017, after finishing education, I joined the Brahmacharya Ashram in Los Angeles with the aim of giving my life in the service of Srila Prabhupada. Since 2017, I have been doing traveling Sankirtan out of Los Angeles. In 2018, I was made a bus party leader, which continues to function as my primary service. 2018 received initiation from His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu. In 2019, after I was introduced to His Grace Radhesha Prabhu, who I immediately accepted as a Shiksha Guru. I continued to travel in America, doing full-time traveling Sankirtan while simultaneously developing training and education programs in Los Angeles ashram. Overseas, the North American Brahmacharis Sangha, which meets once a week. And I assist Radhesha Prabhu with youth outreach in San Jose and San Joe and Los Angeles. I travel in India half the year connecting with Indian youths while receiving training under His Grace Radhesha Prabhu. So I also happened to meet Prabhu at Pune temple when I was in Pune in month of April, and I saw him enthusiastically chanting, dancing, and especially when I attended his Bhagavatam class, I felt very nice to hear wonderful Krishna Katha, very wonderfully presented and with a good understanding and deep realizations. So immediately I was talking to him and I said that he said me that he travels all over the India. So I said, why don't you come to Kanpur also? So he immediately accepted our request and we are here now. So it's very good to have association of such Vaishnava. I was yesterday trying to understand from him how is his schedule and how he does services in America. So he's completely focused in giving out Srila Prabhupada books and spreading Prabhupada's message. He doesn't waste a lot of energy and time in any other things other than the core activity of doing book distribution and spreading Srila Prabhupada's movement. So very happy to have Devvrata Prabhu at Kanpur. Thank you very much for coming here and being with us for this Sangha. Let us welcome Devvrata Prabhu to ISKCON Kanpur by loudly chanting 3 times. So Prabhu will speak on Srimad Bhagavatam class, and after the class we'll have discussion on our marathon 2022. Very good. Srila Prabhupada Discussion Marathon A.
Hare Krishna. So it's a pleasure to be here in Kanpur. I've always heard about Kanpur from other devotees that it's a big, big temple. And so when I met Prem Harinam Prabhu, I wasn't so much interested in coming seeing the big, big temple, but seeing Prem Harinam Prabhu and getting his association because he is a very wonderful devotee, has very close association with Radheshyam Prabhu and training by Radheshyam Prabhu. And not only that, on an individual level, he is a very wonderful example of leadership and humility. And so when I met him in Pune, I felt an attraction to him personally. And then so I figured if I came to Kanpur, I'd be able to spend more time with him and then also associate with all the devotees who are serving under and with him. So it's a very wonderful opportunity for me to be here. And I think the greatest expression of Premarinam Prabhu's humility is the fact that he wants to hear from me speak Bhagavatam. So I feel very fortunate to render some service to Prabhu and all the assembled Vaishnavas and be able to glorify the Srimad Bhagavatam. And not only that, talk about our most important activity of engaging in the Sankirtan Yagya. So we'll be speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam 1.6.13. If anyone is keeping track on their phone. Nala. Oh wait. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashuprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Yasyam Vaishyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhakti Upadhyate Pumsam Bhakti Shruti Grihitaya Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. There's a Hindi translation happening for this? Okay, so I'll speak slowly and at a pace in which you can all translate and understand. Nala Venu Sarash Tanpa Kusha Kikaka Gharvaram Eka Ivatiyato Aham Adriksham Vipinam Mahat Goram Pratibhayakaram Vayala Ukka Shiva Ajiram Nalavenu Sahastanba Kusha Kichaka Garvaram Eka Evati Yato Yaham Adraksham Vipinam Mahat Goram Pratibhayakaram Vayalo Yuka Shivadiram Nalavenu Sahastamba Kusa Kiktaka Karvaram Eka Evatiyato Yaham Adraksham vipinam mahat Goram Patibhayakaram Vayol Yukta Shivajiram Nalavenu Sahastamba Kushakitaka Gavaram Ekaivavi Yato Yaham Adraksham Vipinam Mahat Goram Pratibhayakaram Vayol Yukta Shivajiram Sahasramba Vaishnavis? No? Okay, Nala, pipes. Venu, bamboo. Shara, pins. Tamba, full of. Kusha, sharp grass. Kijaka, weeds. Garvaram, caves. Eka, alone. Eva, only. Atiyata, difficult to go through. Aham, I. Adraksham, visited. Vipinam, deep forest. Mahat, great. Goram, fearful. Pratibhayakaram, dangerously. Vayala, snakes. Utkala, owls. Shiva, jackals. Ajiram, playgrounds. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals. Purport. It is the duty of a mendicant, Parirajagacharya, to experience all varieties of God's creation by traveling alone through all forests, hills, towns, villages, etc., to gain faith in God, strength of mind, as well as to enlighten the inhabitants with the message of God. A sannyasi is duty-bound to take all these risks without fear, and the most typical sannyasi of the present age is Lord Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner through the central Indian jungles, enlightening even the tigers, bears, snakes, deer, elephants, and many other jungle animals. In this age of Kali, sannyas is forbidden for ordinary men. One who changes his dress to make propaganda is a different man from the original ideal sannyasi. One should, however, take the vow to stop social intercourse completely and devote life exclusively to the service of the Lord. The change of dress is only a formality. Lord Chaitanya did not accept the name of a sannyasi. In this age of Kali, the so-called sannyasis should not change their former names, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. In this age, devotional service of hearing and repeating the holy glories of the Lord is strongly recommended. And one who takes the vow of renunciation of family life need not imitate the Parivrajak Acharya like Narda or Lord Chaitanya, but may sit down at some holy place and devote his whole time and energy to hear and repeatedly chant the holy scriptures left by the great Acharyas like the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Nalavenu sahastamba kushakik chakaravaram ekatvat yato yaham adraksham vipinam mahat goram patibhayakaram vayul yukta shivajiram. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Minitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Anadanastrinam dante idam yache puna punaha Shriman Rupa Parambojo Dudisyam Janma Janmani Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Sunyavari Pashnatade Shatarine Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvise Namaha Vancha Kalpatarumbisya Kripa Sindhurevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Durgame Patimenantasya Sakalat Parakatemaho Swakripa Yasti Danena Santa Sanpavalambanam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Kun Karati Vachalam Pangalangayate Girim Yakripadharaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Vagishayasya Varane Lakshmi Yasya Chavakshashi Yaste Hridaye Samvid Tam Nishimham Maham Bhaje. Is that a whole lot of that? Yes. Okay, we should really keep that there. So in this verse, Narada Muni's mother has just been bitten by a snake, and he has received instructions from the Bhaktivedantas previous to his mother's passing. And now he is left home, taking this arrangement, this so-called setback, as the mercy of the Lord. And in so doing, Narada Muni sets the example for all Sankirtan devotees in his fearlessness to go out and spread Krishna consciousness. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that It's the duty of a mendicant, a parivrajagacharya, to travel through all varieties of creation, into all villages, towns, cities, hills, mountains, everywhere, and spread the message of the Supreme Lord. And by so doing, one gains faith in God and strength of mind. So this development of faith in God and strength of mind, this is actually what sadhana bhakti is meant to bring about. The definition of sadhana bhakti, which is given by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, is kriti sadhya bhavat sadhya bhavasa sadhanabhita nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakritam hridya sadhyata. That sadhana bhakti are those activities which, why one engages in, brings about love of God, brings about bhava. Nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakritam hridya sadhyata. So by engaging in the activities of sadhana, we are meant to bring about bhava. So book distribution and the Sankirtan Yagya is actually a kind of sadhana. My spiritual master often says that book distribution is high sadhana. So what does this mean, that book distribution is sadhana? Because according to material vision, it just looks like, some monks are out there. In Los Angeles, we have something called the Santa Monica Pier in Hollywood Boulevard. You've probably heard of Hollywood Boulevard before. So Hollywood Boulevard, so many things are going on, but one of the things that goes on is there's Buddhist monks, or at least they claim to be Buddhist monks. I think they're of Chinese origin, and they walk around with little bracelets, putting the bracelets on people's hands, and then once they put the bracelets on people's hands, they ask for some money. And there are of all different varieties of types of people that are doing this. And like I said, I don't even know if they're monks sometimes. So when people see us going out and selling books according to a material consideration, one may consider that what they're doing is not different from those monks who are selling the bracelets. So what makes Sankirtan a sadhana? What makes it an activity which brings about the mercy of the Lord, which brings about love of Krishna? Bhava is defined in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the following way. Shuddha sattva visheshatman prema suryam susamyabhak mruchibis chinmayashranya kritaso bhava uchate. That bhava is that when a ray of Shuddha sattva descends in the heart of the practitioner, and through that ray of Shuddha sattva touching the heart of the practitioner's heart melts with various emotions and feelings for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one becomes fully aware of their sthai bhav in relationship to the Supreme Lord. It means one gives up all final traces of any identification with the material energy. All conceptions of I and mine in relationship to this world are completely disintegrated, and one is established in the original position as an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in 4 different ways, either as a servant, as a parent, as a friend, or as a lover. This is established within the heart of a sadhaka. So how is it that Sankirtan can bring about such realization? Sanatana Goswami defines in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita that sadhana, in order for one to achieve their proper sadhya, the sadhana has to be in alignment with the sadhya. It's just like if I want to go to Bombay, I need to buy a ticket to Bombay. I can't buy a ticket to Chennai and expect that I'll go to Bombay. So in the same way, there is a practice by which one achieves the ultimate goal of life. And going back to Godhead is a specific statement, but it can also be a general statement. Because the varieties that are existing within the spiritual world are more immaculate and more wonderful than the variety that we find in this material world. So the realm of Vaikuntha, the realm of Ayodhya, the realm of Goloka Vrindavan, the realm of Navadvip, these are all specific destinations which have specific moods. And even within those destinations, there's specific atmospheres. which facilitate the propensity of service of the respective devotee. This is explained very elaborately in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where Gopakumar goes through all these different realms of existence and sees the different types of devotees practicing there. And they're all completely satisfied in their particular service. But we should understand, what is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointing us towards? What direction that should we be going? So we understand that Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is emphasizing Krishna in Vrindavan. Otherwise, he wouldn't go through all the trouble of defining the 64 qualities of Krishna, and then at the very end describe the 4 qualities which are specific to Krishna, and then go into elaborate detail of the relationships that exist only in relationship to Krishna. So we can see through the example of Rupa Goswami, we can see through the example of the Goswamis of Vrindavan, we can see through the example of Srila Prabhupada, as he mentions in his Bhagavad Gita, that the goal of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya is to attain Krishna in Vrindavan. But the more one studies the nature of the devotion that's existing in Vrindavan, the more one understands how refined of an atmosphere that actually is. One will realize how far we actually are from that goal. So in order to achieve that goal, we're going to need a process which makes that goal completely accessible, which opens the doors and welcomes everyone in. That can only be achieved through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So by going out on book distribution, by going out and distributing the holy name and distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, we're engaging in a sadhana which makes our hearts and our entire being receptive to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how can we engage in Sankirtan? This Sankirtan is the sadhana for the age of Kali, for the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what is Sankirtan? We have to understand this very deeply. Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Siddhanta bolya chitte nakara alash, iha hoite Krishna lage sudrit manash. That in order for the mind to become fixed in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be fixed in one's realization of Krishna, one needs to discuss the conclusions of Siddhanta very scrutinizingly. Srila Prabhupada used to say, thoroughly threadbare. You know what threadbare means? Threadbare is a very interesting word in English. If anyone's ever had a sweater or a chudder that you've worn for a very, very long time, what happens to the chudder? It begins to get worn out, right? And slowly, it becomes thread. It gradually disintegrates. So Srila Prabhupada wanted us to study his books and study the process of Krishna consciousness thoroughly threadbare. Means that whenever I go to a devotee's house, if I get invited for a home program, the first thing I look at, according to what I should speak about if they invite me, is I immediately look at their collection of books. And what I do is I grab a random book from the shelf and I see how worn down the book is. If I grab a 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam and it's worn down, then I can understand that this devotee is a very serious devotee. That they've studied Srila Prabhupada's books very sincerely, and so what I should speak about should be of a very confidential nature. And what I need to speak about for someone whose Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto is still in the plastic wrap is going to be of a different nature. So we should aspire to have a book collection in which all the books are worn down. That every 10 years we need to buy a new set of Srila Prabhupada's books. And every 10 years we need to buy 2 sets of Srila Prabhupada's books because we need to distribute the other set. So Siddhante bole chitte nakara alash iha hoite Krishna lage sudrit manash. We have to understand the process of Krishna consciousness very scrutinizingly and not consider having discussions to be very controversial. In Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he explains in relationship to this verse, Siddhanta Olashana Narthan Archanan. That those who fail to understand Siddhanta thoroughly, they become overwhelmed. Those who are lazy, Alashan, those who are lazy in the matter of studying Siddhanta, Anarthas remain within their heart, and their activities are plagued by anarthas. And so they're unable to make swift advancement in the process of Krishna consciousness due to neglecting that study of Siddhanta. So let's understand what Sankirtan is according to Siddhanta. Let's thoroughly threadbare the word Siddhanta and let's try to understand it deeply for our own edification, for our own upliftment. And by the more we understand what Sankirtan is, the more we'll feel inspired to accept this sadhana and become Vyasyatmika buddhir, become fixed in this particular activity. And why should we become fixed in this activity? Why is it important that we understand it? Krishna varnam tvasa Krishna, sango pangas parshadam, yagyar sankirtanir prayer, yajantihi sumedasaha. Those who are intelligent in the Kali Yuga, they engage in Sankirtan. So we don't want to be unintelligent. We want to be intelligent people and engage in Sankirtan. Engage in the Sankirtan Yagya. So let's understand what Sankirtan means. So the definition of Sankirtan, if we break down the word in Sanskrit, sam means together or along with. And kirtan means to glorify and describe. So the exact definition of sam kirtan, it means to come together and glorify and describe the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So actually the entire Vedic literature is just Sankirtan only. And what does the Vedic literature begin with? The pranava, the seed mantra of all the Vedic literature is pranava sarva vedeshu om. The beginning of all the Vedic literature begins with om. And from om springs forth the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, the Antarva Veda, the Yajur Veda. And from all these Vedas springs forth the Gayatri Mantra. And from the Gayatri Mantra, the commentary of the Gayatri Mantra is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam pramana mamalam premam pumartomahan. The ultimate authority of all Vedic wisdom is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the commentary to the Gayatri Mantra is contained within the Srimad Bhagavatam. And after explaining the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami ends the Srimad Bhagavatam with one verse. And what does he say? Nama Sankirtanan Yasya Sarva Papa Prapasanam Pram Namo Dukasamanas Tam Nami Haridam Param Harim Pranam Param. Then after describing the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, after describing all the Vedic literature, Vyasadeva ends with glorifying the process of Nam Sankirtan. He ends all the Vedic literature, the final word of all Vedic wisdom ends with Sankirtan. So after studying all the Vedic literatures, Sumedasaha, Yagyar Sankirtaner Prayer, Yajantihi Sumedasaha, one who is intelligently understand the Vedas will come to this conclusion of Sankirtan. So the ultimate conclusion of all the Vedas is the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, engaging in Kirtan, engaging in the glorification of Krishna's names. In Srila Sanatana Goswami, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he glorifies this process of Nam Sankirtan in his invocation of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And he says that the chanting of the holy names in comparison to all the other activities that are prescribed in the Vedas is the least troublesome and the most effective. Varnashram duties are extremely troublesome. To maintain all the proper etiquettes and all the particular formulas and everything that needs to be observed within the Varnashram is extremely difficult. We are seeing in ISKCON, for good reason, we're scratching our heads trying to figure out how to implement Varnashram Dharma within society at large. Because by implementing Varnashram, we can facilitate a larger variety of people within the world to engage in Krishna consciousness. But we see in the past 25 years, the most intelligent people of ISKCON have had long discussions, how can we actually make this happen? So we can see, Varnashram duties are simply troublesome. The yoga process requires very difficult postures. One needs to live away in the forest. One needs to engage in various yamas and niyamas, engage in the breathing process. Simply troublesome. Deity worship. One has to be purified internally and externally. Simply troublesome. Hearing Krishna Katha. Oh, Prabhu, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Sanatana Goswami says, even hearing is extremely difficult because you have to find a qualified person to speak. But the holy name is perfect. Apana Shamsatim Goram Yanama Vivisogrinam. Apana Shamsatim Goram Yanama Vivisogrinam Tata Sadyo Vimuchetan Yadbabeti Swayam Vayam. The Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the glorification of the chanting of Krishna's names, and it ends with the glorification of the chanting of Krishna's names. This is why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the perfect preacher of the Srimad Bhagavatam, because his only concern was inaugurating the chanting of Hare Krishna within the world. When the Varanasi sannyasis were inquiring from him, why are you sentimentally just chanting the holy names all day and spending all your time with these low-born Sudras? Why are you spending your time in this way? You're a sannyasi. You should be with us studying Vedanta. Why do you waste your time in this way? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very humbly said, my spiritual master considered me a fool, and I'm not qualified to study the Vedas. He told me just to chant the holy names. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started chanting the holy names, he went completely mad. Tears started pouring from his eyes. Trembling started coming from his body. He went completely mad in ecstasy. And he approached his spiritual master, Ishvara Puri. He said, Guru Maharaj, I don't know what's going on. Are you sure this is what's supposed to be happening? And his spiritual master quoted this verse, Evam Vrataswa Priyanama Kirtyat Jatanurago Jutachuta Uchayar Hastiyato Roti Roti Gayan Unmadavan Inladi Lokabayaha. Evam Vrataswa Priyanama Kirtyat. The beginning of this verse is when one accepts a vow to chant the holy name, and they do this steadily, the result is that person goes completely mad in ecstatic love. They begin rolling on the ground, dancing ecstatically, crying, and they completely become oblivious to public opinion. Ishvara Puri spoke this verse. He said, this is the perfection of chanting. And this verse is the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So by putting aside all activities, Sanatana Goswami explains, one can engage in Nam Sankirtan without any difficulty. Nam Namakari Bahuda Nisa Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamika Smarate Nakalaha Etadrasi Tavakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Mindrasinihan Janinanu Raga. That this holy name is so glorious and so powerful, there's no rules and regulations for chanting it. It completely absorbs the entire being of the living entity in the chanting. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he goes on to explain the glories of chanting Hare Krishna, the glories of Kirtan in his Dushtamana. He explains Kirtana Prabhave Smarana Swabhave, that by chanting the holy names, automatically one begins to remember Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's forms, Krishna's qualities, and simultaneously one becomes aware of their own spiritual nature. So embedded within this Nam Sankirtan, the very definition of Nam Sankirtan means to come together and glorify. To come together and glorify. So within the very definition of Nam Sankirtan, it is not only that we chant the holy names, but we are duty bound to spread the glories of the holy name. We are duty bound to teach people about the glories of chanting Hare Krishna. This is explained by Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kali Yuge Yuga Dharma Namera Prachar Tati Lage Pitta Varna Chaitanya Avatar. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in the Kali Yuga to teach the Yuga Dharma, which is this Namera Prachar. In this particular verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada, he defines this word as, in the word for word, he defines it as propagate. And in the exact translation, he uses the word broadcast. So it means The Yuga Dharma of Kali Yuga is not only the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, but spreading the glories of that chanting of the holy names. So this is why Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he called book distribution the Brihat Mridanga. Because by printing the glories of the holy name on ink and paper and distributing those literatures throughout the world, one engages in the Yuga Dharma, which is recommended by Kaviraj Goswami in the name of Namira Prachar. One easily engages in the function of spreading the glories of the holy name. It is a bigger kirtan, Brihat Mridanga, because the sound of a mridanga can only go as far as the temple hall. The sound of the mridanga can only go as far as the street corner we're chanting on. But if one distributes a book during that kirtan to some bystander who's watching, who's feeling very interested, scratching their head, what are these people doing? If someone is able to give a book to that person, then that book could end up in a place that the holy name could never end up. Srila Prabhupada, in a letter to Rameshwar Prabhu was the leader of the BBT in the LA temple in the 1970s. Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter to him, and he said, just see how effective this book distribution, see how it is the better kirtan. I've received a report that someone distributed a book to Jimmy Carter's son. Jimmy Carter was the president of the United States. So through that book distribution, one of Srila Prabhupada's books ended up in the White House. Later on, a devotee named Paramananda was distributing books in Washington, D.C., and he met the daughter of Bill Clinton, the President of the United States from 1992 to 2000. And he got a book, and she got a book. She got a Chant Be Happy and a Higher Taste. By reading that book, Bill Clinton actually very much appreciated the idea of vegetarianism, and he very much appreciated the Sankirtan movement. Years after that, a devotee was distributing books on the Santa Monica Promenade, and Bill Clinton came walking down the Santa Monica Promenade. Santa Monica Promenade is like a mall. It's an outdoor mall where people go shopping. So Bill Clinton was walking, and every day the book distributors would go there and distribute. And he saw Bill Clinton surrounded by a bunch of people, and he said, I'm going to give a book to Bill Clinton. So he walked up to Bill Clinton with a Bhagavad Gita, gave him the Bhagavad Gita, said, Bill, I would like you to have this book. It would be an honor if you would accept it. Bill Clinton took the book, held it up in the air, and everyone cheered when he held the book up. So that book entered in the home of a very influential person. So by distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, we are given the opportunity to spread the holy name in places which we are not able to go. This is what makes book distribution non-different from Nam Sankirtan. Sometimes there's this debate whether we should engage in Kirtan or whether we should engage in the Brihat Mridanga of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. But Srila Prabhupada, in a letter, he said, why distinguish between the two? Why distinguish between Kirtan and book distribution? My books are spoken Kirtan. My books are spoken Kirtan. So by distributing these books, you are spreading the holy name. You are engaging in the Yuga Dharma. So when we go out and we distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, we engage in this process of Sankirtan. What will happen is the benediction which is given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshashtakam will unfold within our heart. Chaito Darpana Marjanam. The cleansing of the heart will begin to take place. And actually, in order to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books effectively, in order to go on distributing Srila Prabhupada's books for a lifetime, one needs to wear this verse of Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Sahishnuna, Amanina Amanadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. One needs to develop this deep humility, which is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explains that to be lower than a blade of grass means to accept the mission of the spiritual master as one's life and soul. It means to take the dust of the spiritual master upon one's head. And the only desire of the spiritual master is to fulfill the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prithivitra yache Yada Nagaradi Gram, Namachap, no? Sarvatra Pachara Hoibe Moranam. To see that the chanting of the holy name preached within every town and village is the only desire of the supreme of the spiritual master. Sakshat Daridvena Samasta Shastra. The spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. What makes him non-different from Krishna? His desire is the same. So to become humble as a blade of grass and lower than the straw in the street means to accept the mission of the spiritual master as one's heart and soul. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitite Korya Akya Arna Korimana Ash. That one has to make the desires of the spiritual master one with one's heart. Book distribution is one of the few services in which one can engage in and be fully confident that all the previous acharyas are completely backing that person up. That the previous acharyas will be with you anywhere that you go, anywhere you carry Srila Prabhupada's books with the desire to spread the Sankirtan mission. You can rest assured that the blessings of Rupa Goswami, the blessings of Sanatan Goswami, the blessings of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the blessings of Narottam Das Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and our Srila Prabhupada will be with you. They will be there with you when you're distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. There's a book distributor in America who was working extremely hard distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, and he went to a festival and he was feeling a little bit tired. And he was unsure whether he wanted to go out that day. So he laid down and he said, I'll take a nap and then I'll go out. So he laid down for 15 minutes. When he laid down, he had a dream. In this dream, he was distributing books in the Los Angeles airport, LAX. And he was approaching all the people and no one was taking the books. And he was feeling frustrated. And then in the middle of the airport terminal, he saw Srila Prabhupada sitting on a Vyasasana. So he approached Srila Prabhupada and he said, Srila Prabhupada, how can I serve you? And Srila Prabhupada, with tears flowing from his eyes, lifted his hand and said, stop those people so I can preach to them. So he said, all right. So he started walking and approaching all the people, and Srila Prabhupada is right there with him. As he was walking to the airport, approaching each person. He's approaching person after person after person. And no one was stopping. But Srila Prabhupada is there, so he said, I have to continue on. Finally, someone stopped, and he started explaining the books to the person. The person's like, yeah, this is what I'm into this. And he said, well, if this is like something that you're interested in, the author is like right here if you want to meet him. And then when he looked at Srila Prabhupada wasn't there anymore. And the guy looked at him and he said, you just don't get it, do you? And then he closed the book and walked away. And then the devotee woke up in his van. So the realization that the devotee had is that when we go out, Srila Prabhupada is there, walking with us, waiting to preach to the people of the world. So in order to have this realization, we have to develop deep humility. We have to fully imbibe this Trinadapi Sunichina. And when one develops this humility, not only will one be able to go on chanting the holy name, but one will be able to go on spreading the glories of the holy name. Kirtaniya Sadahari. There's a devotee in Los Angeles named Bhagavatam Prabhu. He's 71 years old, and he still goes out on book distribution every single day. He goes out 5 days a week for 7 or 8 hours a day to schools and universities, approaching each person. I asked Ananda Kirtan, one of my best friends in Los Angeles, how does he do it? What are some realizations that you've had from distributing books with Srila Prabhupada, by distributing books with Bhagavatam Prabhu? What are some realizations that you had? He said, well, I realized that this verse, Trinadapi Sunichina, Bhagavatam Prabhu has fully imbibed it. And because he's fully imbibed it, he's received the blessings of Kirtaniya Sadahari. That he's able to go on preaching the glories of the holy name without stopping, because he's developed that humility. 71 years old, and he's still distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. When you see these examples of devotion, tears will come to your eyes. this dedication to the mission of the spiritual master. So in order to preach effectively, we have to imbibe this verse that Srila Prabhupada so often taught us about preaching, spoken by Prabodhananda Saraswati. Dande nichaya trinikam pariyorni patyat kritvat sakakum sata etaraham bravimi he saravasakalameva vihaya durat Gauranga Chandra Charane Kurutanuragam. That one has to take a straw between their teeth, become extremely humble, and approach the people and say, "Sir, you're so beautiful, you're so wonderful, you're probably the most intelligent person to ever exist. But please, I have one request of you. Forget everything you've ever known and worship the lotus feet of Gauranga. Gauranga Chandra Charane Kurutanu Ragam." So when we go out with this mood, it's not that everyone's going to respond to us falling at their feet and humbly begging them to accept the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, many people will ridicule us. Many people will make fun of us. Many people will harass us, spit at us. I've even been arrested on Sankirtan in America, put in a police car, taken to jail. So we'll experience so many tests to our surrender, so many tests to our faith. But as Narada Muni says, as Srila Prabhupada says in this purport, it's a duty to go out and see all varieties of creation and preach the word of God, and by so doing, one will develop faith in God and strength of mind. So these tribulations that we undergo in the process of preaching the Sankirtan movement, they can be understood to be like a stress test. In the medical field, there's something called a stress test, in which one can see how much blood is flowing from the heart to see if the body is functioning properly. So similarly, when we go out and we preach the message of Krishna consciousness through the form of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, through the form of chanting the holy names in public, it will be a stress test for our faith, and simultaneously it will allow us to develop this deep dependence on Krishna that is needed in order to make significant advancement in Krishna consciousness. Within the four walls of the institution, there's no chance that we will be able to see where we're actually at in our spiritual advancement. But when we go out and we meet the public and we try to give them Srila Prabhupada's books and ask them to chant the holy name, ask them to take prasadam, they will very clearly show us, very unambiguously show us where we're at in our spiritual advancement. Do we become angry with them? Do we become condescending? Or do we maintain the mood of the Prabodhananda Saraswati? Do we maintain the mood of being humbler than a blade of grass? If we are, then we can see that we're making advancement. If we're not, it tells us that we have work to do, which then acts as an impetus for us to go deeper into the process of hearing and chanting. So by going out and distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, we can see how Krishna is personally involved in our purification. Yomam pasati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pasyati tasyaham na pranasyami sacha me na pranasyati. One who sees all things in me, one who sees me in all things and all things in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So when we approach people on Sankirtan, we have an opportunity to come in contact with so many gurus. The Avadut Brahmana, he speaks of how he had so many gurus. He saw gurus in the wind, he saw gurus in the sun, he saw gurus in the pigeon. This is the vision of a devotee that we have to develop. We have to see how everything is acting positively toward our own purification, and that Krishna is not only has a very general affection for all living entities, but he has a very specific affection for us in our purification. Unless we go out and try to spread the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it will not be possible for us to perceive the specific affection that Krishna has. And unless we perceive the specific affection that Krishna has for us, then we will not be able to reciprocate and develop gratitude for the mercy of Krishna within our life. So when we go out and we distribute Srila Prabhupada's books and we see Krishna's affection in our life, This will act as an impetus for us to want to reciprocate with Krishna's love. It will act as an impetus for us to appreciate, look how Krishna has given me the association of devotees. Look how Krishna has given me Krishna Prasadam on a daily basis. Look how Krishna has given me the opportunity to see the deities, chant with the devotees, be in the temple. Look at all these gifts that Krishna has given to me, and I am not doing anything for him. But Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, and Srila Prabhupada himself explains. Srila Prabhupada was once asked, how do we repay the debt of the spiritual master? And Srila Prabhupada said it's impossible. But if one would like to try, they should go out and vigorously preach Krishna consciousness and do as I have done. So Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, how do we reciprocate with his love? He says, those who preach the message of the Bhagavad Gita are very dear to me. So if we want to become endeared to Krishna, if we want to reciprocate with how much love Krishna is giving us, the practical expression of that is to go out on Harinam Sankirtan, go out and perform the Brihat Mridanga, and carry the firewood of the mission of the spiritual master. There's a verse in the Mundaka Upanishad that says that one should approach the spiritual master with firewood in hand. Transformation of firewood is paper. And with paper you can print books. So when we carry big stacks of books, we're actually carrying the firewood of the spiritual master. And we see in the pastime of Sudama and Krishna, when they were put into hardships, when they went out and they preached and they went out and they tried to serve the mission of their spiritual master, Sanipani Muni, an unseasonal storm came crashing in. And the only thing that they could do was hold on to each other and hold on to the wood that they had collected for performing yaga with their spiritual master. Sridhar Swami explains, there's a particular verse, I don't remember the exact Sanskrit, but he says, he specifically mentions that despite the fact there was a storm, Krishna and Sudama, they held on to the wood that they collected for their spiritual master. So similarly, in this world, there may be war, there may be famine, there may be disease. We have experience with that recently, right? So many things will come, so many storms will come. But following in the footsteps of Sudama and Krishna, we can hold on to the mission of the spiritual master in Srila Prabhupada's books and Srila Prabhupada's book distribution, and approach every person we meet and give them the opportunity to chant Hare Krishna. And this is explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur as being the essence of all religion. Jivadoy Krishnanam Sarva Dharmasar. The essence of all spiritual practices is this Jivadoy Krishnanam Sarva Dharmasar. To go out and show compassion for the living entities and teach them how to chant Krishna's names. So the December Marathon is coming and is an opportunity for us to engage in full focused yajna and completely give our heart and soul to this practice of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. And during this month, we can pray for the humility that not only during the month of December do we go out and distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, but any opportunity that we have, we make it a point to approach the conditioned souls and give them an opportunity and not discriminate between who is qualified and who is not qualified. Give everyone an opportunity. This is the mood of the Panchatattva. This is the mood of Srila Prabhupada. This is the mood of our Sampradaya. To give every person in existence, every living entity in existence, the opportunity to chant Krishna's names and take advantage of the Sankirtan movement and go back home, back to Godhead with Krishna and Vrindavan. Om Tat Sat. So if there's any questions, I think we can have discussion now, right?
Thank you, Prabhu, for such a wonderful and enlightening class. I have a question regarding distributing books. Like in the West, people are not aware of the Lord Krishna or Bhagavad Gita. But in India, when we distribute books, people know too much about God. And when try to give them a book, so they say that we already have, and most of them carry also with themselves. So, and if you tell them that you can give to someone, so maybe on the New Year or some marriage and all, so they are a little hesitant. So, how to convince these pious people whom we meet, and how can we distribute books to them?
Yeah, you can ask him, do you read Bhagavad Gita? Because embedded within book distribution is not only distributing the books itself, but teaching people how to read the books. So you can create programs as a background to book distribution in which you can facilitate the study of the Bhagavad Gita. You can have Gita made easy for everyone. Game. Radhisham Prabhu's produced this. So you can produce this for all classes of people. You can produce it for students. You can also produce it for working class people. And you can conduct seminars within the temple in which people can come together and learn how to read Bhagavad Gita. So if you meet someone who already has the Bhagavad Gita when you're going out and distributing books, you can keep a flyer with you and you can collect their contact. Because these types of people, if they already have Prabhupada's books and they're already appreciative, especially if they buy a book to take and give to another person, this is someone who could become a devotee. All they need is a little bit more scratching.
Maybe they may not have Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, but some other.
You still invite them to the Gita class. Because the way you'll be teaching Gita is only according to the conclusion of Srila Prabhupada. So you'll be able to show them through a course and through a specific tutorial atmosphere how profound Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is actually is. So even if they have a different Bhagavad Gita, don't pay so much attention to that. If you can somehow convince them of coming for a course and learning about Bhagavad Gita, then that will be very effective. These are people that can go out and distribute Bhagavad Gita in the future. These are people that can take on that can shoulder some of the weight of the Sankirtan movement and engage in spreading the message of Bhagavad Gita. Because they already have enough faith to be carrying their own Bhagavad Gita with them. But more likely than not, I can guarantee you, most people in India don't actually understand Bhagavad Gita, despite the fact they say, I know Bhagavad Gita. Most people don't know Bhagavad Gita. Because to know Bhagavad Gita means to act. Srila Prabhupada would often say that hearing means to act. So if one's actually heard the message of the Bhagavad Gita, they should be acting according to the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. And if as many people in India say that they know Bhagavad Gita as they say they know, as they say there are, then India wouldn't be in the condition that it's in now. India would be leading the world economically, socially, politically, spiritually, if the principles of Bhagavad Gita were being properly followed according to the conclusions of the Vaishnava Acharyas. So we can look at the state of India and we can understand that people don't understand Bhagavad Gita. So there's a very large scope for teaching Bhagavad Gita and bringing people in for courses about Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, surely that's a very wonderful idea I've given. We never thought about it. And also, my question was regarding more about like at that particular point of time, if I want to give him the book.
Don't worry about it, because the way that they'll take the book is by coming to your course. You have to see it's an investment in the future. There's Shreyas and there's Preyas. Preyas is just getting them book and pushing off. Shreyas is seeing this is a person who already has faith in Bhagavad Gita, is already studying it, so I can invite them to a course in which they can study it more deeply.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. Hey, what time are we supposed to start? Stop. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful session. Prabhuji, if I'm not wrong, one of the offenses of chanting is to explain and digest about the glories of the Hari name. And one of the last lines which you said in the class was to not distinguish between any kind of person, I mean conditioned or not conditioned souls, and distribute the books to every one of them. So I find these two statements a bit contradictory. If you could explain on it.
Okay. So the Srimad Bhagavatam says, Ishvare taradineshu baliheshu tvisat susha. Prema maitri kripo peksha yakaroti samadhyamaha. That the quality of a preacher is that he distinguishes between the envious, the innocent, the devotees. He distinguishes between all three. And the way he engages with the envious is he neglects them. So when we say to not distinguish, it means we give everyone at least a chance. We give everyone the opportunity to at least show them the book. Yesterday, when Premarinam Prabhu and I landed in the airport, I tried showing someone the book. They weren't interested. So I could have kept pushing. No, you should read this. You should read this. But they said no, so you just push off. And then there was another person that was very happy to take the book. And so for those types of people, you can show mercy to. Kripa upeksha. One should show mercy to the innocent. So to not distinguish means to give everyone the opportunity to receive a book. Give everyone the opportunity to chant the holy name. How they reciprocate is in their hands. Yeyatam mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. That Krishna is reciprocating with everyone according to the way they want to reciprocate with Krishna. So we just give everyone the opportunity to engage and the opportunity to chant, the opportunity to read. If they don't accept it, that's fine. We've done our duty. We're like a soldier in the field. Soldier in the field, he simply goes out and performs his duty. He has no interest in success or failure. He simply goes out and functions for the purpose of the country, but he's just a soldier in the field. So success or failure isn't of any concern for him. So similarly, when we go out and distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, we can't be so much attached to the result, and we can't be so pushy for people that may not be receptive. That's when we commit offenses, when we start pushing people who are becoming envious. Because by pushing them, it's said that it's like giving milk to a poisonous serpent. Its venom becomes even stronger. So by interacting with them more and more, they become more offensive. So devotees develop transcendental sensitivity to be able to see who is who and how to engage with what. In America, I can tell you, I've been distributing books by Krishna's mercy for about 6 or 7 years now. And I can tell you that when I meet a Christian on book distribution, I know who a Christian is before they even open their mouth. I can sense it just immediately upon their body posture and the way that they're looking at the books. I can immediately sense if someone's a Christian. So by going out on book distribution consistently, going out on Sankirtan consistently, Krishna blesses us with transcendental sensitivity to be able to tune into who is who and how much energy we should give to each person and how we can relate with each person. Sarvaham Sarvasya chaham hriti sani vishto matatspritya jnanam apodaham cha. Krishna is situated within the heart of everyone. So he can give us knowledge of how to interact with each living entity. Does that reconcile your doubt? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for this very inspiring class. My question is, Prabhu, this is my observation. Like in India, we do a lot of book distribution. It has top criminal book distribution. But that way the books are transforming the Western audience, it is not very much visible in India. Like Western people, they read book and they are very much transformed and touched. But in India, it is not very much visible. Is this correct? And what is your opinion?
Well, I would disagree. I know many Indian devotees who have become devotees from getting one of Srila Prabhupada's books. I have a godbrother named Chakadola Prabhu, who got his first book. I know a devotee in America named Vishnu Chitta Prabhu, who's a disciple of Pujapad Bhaktivikas Swami Maharaj. And he got a book from his father, Bhagavad Gita as it is from his father. So I know many Indian devotees who have been touched by Srila Prabhupada's books. I know that India focuses more on mass distribution to like larger audiences and like getting books into places like that. Generally in America, book distribution isn't done in that way. So I don't know if this is the case, but it might be that I think in India, what I've observed is that there's less person-to-person Sankirtan. Just like going out on a daily basis and just meeting the general public on, meeting the rickshaw-wallas, meeting the pan-wallas, meeting all different varieties of people. And in the midst of all those people, there's people that are genuinely looking for spiritual knowledge. They're not in a university, they're not in a corporation, they're just simple people. And if they get one of Srila Prabhupada's books and they read it, they could become a devotee in that way. But That's just a theory. I'm not saying that's the absolute answer, but I would beg to differ. I would say many Indians are becoming transformed by Srila Prabhupada's books. There's many accounts of it. I just named two, for instance, Chakadola Prabhu and Vishnu Prabhu. So there's many devotees in India, many people who are being transformed by Srila Prabhupada's books. But definitely, when you go out and you meet people on a one-to-one basis, there's a very special vibration to doing that for our own purification. So I highly recommend devotees experience the person-to-person nectar of book distribution. It's really fulfilling the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is a poem by Srila Prabhupada called Viraha Ashtakam. And he wrote this right before he came to America. And he said, so many Jagai, he said, Lord Nityananda delivered one set of Jagai Madais. Now so many Jagai Madais are existing. So now we have to go out and preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in every town and village, people are standing out their door, looking down the road, wondering, when will Gaur Nitai come and save me? So let's be those people. Let's be those representatives of Nityananda. Be a representative of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And go and meet the people door to door, the way that Haridas Thakur and Lord Nityananda did. The way that all the members of the Panchatattva did. Going out in the streets, going door to door, and meeting people in the rawest forms that they can possibly existing in. Meeting people in the depths of their suffering. When you go out and you see Krishna's creation, you experience all varieties of creation in the process of executing the Sankirtan mission. Krishna will give you so much realization about how this material works, about how the material world works, about how the modes of nature work. And not only that, you'll experience miracles. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita which says, Purusha prakritisto hi punkte prakritir janguna karanam gura sango syat sarasad yoni janmasu. This verse is saying that all living entities are being carried by their own respective natures, and they're taking birth amongst various species of life and accepting different good and evil conditions. So this verse is indicating that the living entity is completely controlled and mesmerized and enchanted by the witch of Maya. But when you go out and distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, the next verses realize, Upadrastanumantam cha partha bhokta maheshvaram parameti chapi yukto dehismin purusapara. Krishna explains in this verse that he says, but beyond this living entity is the supreme living entity, the Paramatma existing within the heart of all the living entities. And he is the supreme witness, controller, and sanctioner of all activities. So despite the fact that people may be completely enchanted by the mode of ignorance and by the mode of passion, Krishna is the supreme mystic. Yatra Yogeshvara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dunudara. Krishna is the supreme mystic. So by his mystical potency, he can lift the covering of that living entity for the purpose of them to get Srila Prabhupada's books, no matter how low and fallen they are. Recently, I was in Varanasi with my friend Vijamani Gaur, and we were just doing Sankirtan there, going through all the streets, distributing books on the Ghat. And we came out of the Bindu Madhava temple, and I saw some type of walla who was like selling Rudraksha beads, selling different things, you know how they do. Very simple man. And I went up to him and I said, Saba Bolye Hare Krishna. And I asked, please chant Hare Krishna. And he went like this. And his mouth was full. He turned over. He released all the pan from his mouth. And then he came back up, and with a big smile with no teeth and his mouth completely stained red, he goes, Hare Krishna. So despite the fact that people are contaminated by their particular conditioning, by the mercy of Krishna's Yogamaya Shakti, that conditioning can be lifted for the purpose of them getting Srila Prabhupada's books and chanting the holy name. You can only experience this by going on Sankirtan, chanting the holy names in public, and distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Hare Krishna.
One thing we understood, like one-to-one book distribution is a better strategy to see transformation in the people.
It's the best for us.
Okay.
It's the best for us. That is for sure. I'm unsure whether one-to-one is what will create a transformation, but I know for sure that one-to-one is what's best for us.
Jai. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So it was very wonderful to hear from Devvrata Prabhu how nicely he explained about what is the essence of Vedas, Gayatri Mantra, and the essence of the purport of Gayatri Mantra is Bhagavatam, and the essence of Bhagavatam is Nam Sankirtan. So how we have to do very wonderful Sankirtan, and how Sankirtan can reach us to the different parts, including the White House, Bill Clinton, and so many others. And he also gave very wonderful understanding that what are the wonderful qualities required for continuing to go on Sankirtan. The example of Prabhu very nicely explained that. And amazingly, he was telling that how we can use this book distribution to others, following the footsteps of our Acharya, Prabhu, how we have tell them that how you are wonderful, smart, beautiful person, but keep it aside and chant Hare Krishna, take to the process of the holy name. And he wonderfully explained about our questions also very nicely, that how we should have a long vision to do book distribution amazingly. So let us express our heartfelt gratitude to Devvrata Prabhu for nicely taking to us closer to Sankirtan by his transcendental sound vibration, by loudly chanting 3 times. Praise Devvrata Prabhu ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. So अभी भक्त लोग सोच रहे हैं थोड़ा जाना है प्रसाद के लिए। आज एकादशी है, प्रसाद लेना नहीं है, ठीक है। तो हम अभी थोड़ा आधा घंटा चर्चा करेंगे, ज़्यादा समय नहीं लेंगे आपका, लेकिन बहुत महत्वपूर्ण चर्चा है। आप सब लोग बैठ सकते हैं, थोड़े सामने आ सकते हैं, कभी हिंदी में बात करें। तो आने वाले इस दिसंबर मैराथन के बारे में हम चर्चा करने के लिए इकट्ठा हो रहे हैं वहाँ पर। अगले आधा घंटा उसके ऊपर चर्चा करेंगे, एक छोटा सा पावर पॉइंट डिस्कशन करेंगे और किस तरह से हमको अप्रोच करना है इसके बारे में चर्चा करेंगे। तो शुरुआत में हम देखेंगे बहुत सुंदर तरीके से हमारे जो सीनियर वैष्णवगण हैं वो किस तरह से प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं हमारे मैराथन को, उनके साथ हम शुरुआत करेंगे। तो हम देखेंगे वीडियो। उसका साउंड ठीक से नहीं है, साउंड करो। ये बड़े वाले स्पीकर पे आना चाहिए, ऑडियो सेटिंग चेंज करना पड़ेगा। तो हमारे फाउंडर आचार्य के बारे में क्या कह रहे हैं? Yes, sir.
Guru Parampara, succession. You have to simply take instruction from Guru, and if we execute that to our heart and soul, that is success. That is practical. I have no personal qualification, but I simply try to satisfy my Guru. That's all. My Guru Maharaj asked me that if you get some money, you print books. Yeah. So I took up this from his mom, that he is very fond of books. And he told me personally that if you get some money, print books. Therefore I am stressing on this point. Where is book? Where is book? Where is book? So kindly help me. This is my request. print as many books in as many languages and distribute throughout the whole world, then Krishna consciousness movement will automatically increase.
जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की। कितना सुंदर तरह से प्रभुपाद जी बता रहे हैं कि बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन मतलब क्या है। केवल हमको गुरु से आदेश लेना है और कार्य करना है। मैंने मेरे जीवन में वही कार्य किया है और उसके माध्यम से इतना हम देख रहे हैं कितना ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन आया है। यस वो नेक्स्ट।
Throughout the universe, like Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no comparison, there is no competition. Every word is for the good of the human side. Every word, each and every word. Therefore we stress so much in the book distribution. Somewhere or other, if the book goes in one's hand, he will make it. At least he will see. So much pride. If he reads one sloka, his life will change. If he reads one sloka, one word, it's such nice. Therefore, you are stressing so much. Please distribute book, distribute book, distribute book.
श्रील प्रभुपाद की। प्रभुपाद जी क्या बोल रहे हैं? एक श्लोका और वो भी नहीं, एक शब्द भी अगर वो सुन लेते हैं, केवल बुक अपने हाथ में लेते तो उनका उद्धार हो जाएगा। रियो
इंजन होता है और कई एक डब्बे होते हैं। वैसे ही बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इंजन है और सब जितने कार्यक्रम हैं सब डब्बे हैं। चाहे डीटी वर्शिप हो, चाहे संकीर्तन हो, चाहे लाइफ मेंबरशिप हो, कांग्रेगेशन प्रीचिंग, जितने हैं अब डब्बे जुड़ते जाओ उसमें, लेकिन इंजन जो है वह बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है। श्री प्रभुपाद जी का प्राण है। प्रभुपाद जी कहते हैं कि जब तक से इन पुस्तकों का वितरण होता रहेगा तब तक से मैं जीवित रहूंगा।
जय श्रील प्रभुपाद। बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन थे तो बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन क्या है? और उसके पहले इंजन है। इंजन को आगे बढ़ाना है ताकि हमारी मूवमेंट आगे बढ़ती रहेगी। और बहुत सुंदर तरीके से ये वीडियो के माध्यम से हम देखा है। तो सब जन रेडी है बुक वितरण के लिए? केवल आधे लोगों ने हाथ ऊपर करके हरि बोल बोला, बाकी लोग थोड़े बैठ के बोल रहे थे। तो यस, ये उत्साह बहुत जरूरी है। ये उत्साह जब रहेगा तभी हम बुक मैराथन में कुछ कर पाएंगे। और आज एकादशी का बड़ा ऑस्पिशियस दिन है, जिस दिन हम इसको कमिटमेंट करने जा रहे हैं हमारे कम्युनिटी के लिए, हमारे स्वयं के लिए और श्री प्रभुपाद जी की प्रसन्नता के लिए। तो श्री राधा माधव जी, जानकी वल्लभ लक्ष्मण हनुमान जी, ललिता विशाखा सखी जी, निताय गौर सुंदर की प्रसन्नता के लिए ये प्रेजेंटेशन कर रहे हैं हम, जिसके माध्यम से हमें सबको प्रेरणा मिले कि हम श्री प्रभुपाद जी को कैसे अच्छे से अच्छे तरह से प्रसन्न करें। So we are launching Srila Prabhupada's Book Distribution Marathon 2022. Our major source of inspiration, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Just now we heard from Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada was appealing, distribute book, distribute book, distribute book. So let us see Prabhupada what he said. नहीं, पीछे चलो. I am so much pleased to hear how you are so enthusiastic for distributing books and literatures. Krishna will surely bless you. This book distribution program is our real propaganda work and Krishna is giving you intelligence how to do it nicely. Thank you very much. So ये प्रोपोगंडा है हमें प्रोपोगेट करने का, और कृष्ण हमें अलग अलग प्रकार से प्रेरणा भी दे रहे इसको करने के लिए। जैसे अभी प्रेजेंटेशन में देखेंगे हम कैसे अलग अलग ऑप्शंस आ रहे हैं, और उन ऑप्शन को देखने के बाद हमारे मन में 10 और ऑप्शन भी तैयार हो जाएंगे, बिकॉज कृष्णा इज गिविंग द इंटेलिजेंस टू ऑल ऑफ अस. Our GBC, our inspiration, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. The heart of ISKCON is book distribution. If book distribution is healthy, then ISKCON is healthy, and devotees are healthy. And if book distribution is low, then we are sick. तो हम बीमार रहना चाहते हैं, हमारा ISKCON बीमार रखना चाहते हैं, तो हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. Srimad Devvrata Prabhuji. Devotees of ISKCON Kanpur has a lot of potential. Let us distribute many books from ISKCON Kanpur. So you are ready to distribute books from ISKCON Kanpur? As a big force, as a big cannon, तोफ लगाकर एकदम बम्बार्ड कर देंगे पूरे कानपुर में. रेडी है? सब डिवोटीज जिन्होंने बहुत प्रयास किए, 2016 से हमने मैराथन चालू किए थे, 2015 में भी किया था, उसके पहले भी थोड़ा 5000 4000 थोड़ा ऐसा पिकअप हो रहा था मैराथन हमारा. तो 2016 में हमने 22,626 ग्रंथों का वितरण किया था. 17 में हम डाउन चले गए थे नोटबंदी के साथ साथ, 10,417 ही किया था. 18 में और नीचे चले गए हम, 7,857 किया था. लेकिन 2019 में थोड़ी राह और अच्छी मिली, तो हम थोड़ा ऊपर बढ़ गए, 12,128 ग्रंथों का वितरण किया था. और 2020 में कितना किया था हमने? 24,006 बुक मैराथन. तो ये बड़ा सुंदर हमारा अनुभव रहा इन दिनों का. लेकिन 2021 में थोड़ा एक ट्रांसफॉर्मिंग इम्पैक्ट आया था. 2021 में हम पहुंच गए 1,01,836 महाबिग बुक्स. सो दिस वाज वेरी फेनोमेनल चेंज. एकदम प्रचार के साथ तेजी से बढ़ गए सामने. तो जनरली प्रभुपाद का जो ये रहता है, प्रोग्राम रहता है, प्रभुपाद जी का प्रोग्राम क्या रहता है? हाँ, 2-3 ऑप्शन आ रहे हैं. एक ने बोलता है डबल इट और एक ने बोला थिंक बिग, राइट? तो यस, लास्ट ईयर हमने 1,01,836 महाबिग बुक का वितरण किया था. और इस बार हमारे मैराथन का प्लान है उससे और आगे बढ़ना है. आप सब तैयार हैं? ओके. So last year our world rank of Kanpur was, तो आप चाहते हैं 9 पर है या फिर थोड़ा नीचे चला जाए? ऊपर आना चाहते हैं ना? Want to go it up? तो last year our Kanpur stood 9th in the world and 2nd in NIDC Big Temple Zone. तो NIDC जो नॉर्थ इंडिया है, नॉर्थ इंडिया में जितने बड़े बड़े मंदिर है, टोटल 11 स्टेट है, 11 स्टेट के अंदर बड़े मंदिरों में कानपुर सेकंड पे था. फर्स्ट पे था ईस्ट ऑफ कैलाश और सेकंड पे था ISKCON कानपुर. तो हमें हमारा जो सक्सेस है सेलिब्रेट करना चाहिए जोर से हरि बोल बोलकर. सजन बोलिए. और ये सक्सेस कैसे पॉसिबल हुआ? क्योंकि हमारे टीम्स, हमारे डिवोटीज ये बहुत ही अथक प्रयास किए थे. उन्होंने बहुत जी जान लगाकर 1 महीना नहीं 2 महीने तक प्रयास करते रहे. मुझे याद है जब मैराथन स्कोर सेटल करने का समय आ रहा था तो सब भक्त बोल रहे थे थोड़ा प्रभु जी 200 का ही फासला है हमारे टीम में, तो हम थोड़ा उसको खत्म करना चाहते हैं, हम आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं. तो स्पिरिट वॉज वेरी हाई, सब कोई करना चाहते थे. तो हम देखते हैं हमारे यहाँ पर अलग अलग टीम ने जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन किया था. BTG टीम लेड बाय चंदन प्रभु डिड 8,911 महाबिग बुक्स. उत्तर प्रदेश पदयात्रा टीम डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड, ऋतुदीप गौर चंद्रपुर वाज द लीडर, 6,644 महाबिग बुक्स. Congregation team 3 led by Dinanath Gopalpur distributed 5,888 महाबिग बुक्स. Pujari team led by Navrupnitay Nitai Prabhu and Padmanath Pradyumna Prabhu distributed 5,726 महाबिग books. IYF team led by Nilmani Krishna Prabhu distributed 5,670 महाबिग books. Folk and congregation team, 2 devotees led by Kurma Avatar Prabhu and Sham Rasik Prabhu and Priya Govind Prabhu distributed 5025 Mahabhag books. Congregation team 1 led by Prem Harinam Das, 4764 Mahabhag books. Temple commander Ramesh Prabhu led team and distributed 4612 Mahabhag books. Book stall and online team led by Sarvati Chaitanya Prabhu distributed 3957 Mahabhag books. And Gita contest team led by Priya Govind Prabhu distributed 3692 Mahabhag books. So these are different teams. अलग अलग टीम ने बहुत प्रयास किए और हम देख सकते हैं उसमें से थोड़ा पीछे चलो, डिफरेंस बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं है, 500 700 1000 का ही डिफरेंस है. तो सब जन एक के पीछे लगे हुए थे, इंजन के पीछे जैसे बोगी लगी रहती है, तो एक दूसरे को पकड़ने का प्रयास कर रहे थे अच्छे से ना. तो इसलिए ये टीम ने मिलके एक बहुत अच्छा एक इम्पैक्ट कर दिया है. नेक्स्ट, उसके अंदर जो टॉप इंडिविजुअल परफॉर्मेंस थे, इन्होंने बहुत प्रयास किया, बहुत शक्ति लगाई थी, बहुत जोर लगाया था हर एक भक्तों ने. उसमें से थे टॉप पे थे हमारे लोकेश्वर कृष्ण प्रभु विद 3985 महाबेग बुक्स, रजलीला माता जी with 3604 Mahabhag books. Rukmini Prannath Prabhu on third was with 1984 Mahabhag books. Atmaram Prabhu with 1651 Mahabhag books. Ram Khilwani Prabhu with 1414 Mahabhag books. 78 Mahabhag books. Ramesh Prabhu 1414 Mahabhag books. Braj Kanai Prabhu 1398 Mahabhag books. Dharamveer Prabhu 1323 Mahabhag books. Shivam Prabhu 1308 Mahabhag books. And Dinanath Gopal Prabhu 1078.5 Mahabhag books. तो ऑल इंडिविजुअल डिवोटी, हाफ मीन्स वो थोड़े स्मॉल बुक्स थे, उसके अंदर पॉइंट आया है वहाँ पर, आधा किताब नहीं दिया उन्होंने. सो इट वॉज इंडिविजुअल परफॉर्मेंस, भक्तों ने बहुत अच्छे से किया है, बहुत विस्तार के साथ में, उत्साह के साथ में उसमें लगे थे, इतने सारे ग्रंथ वितरण किए. और प्रभु जी का टीम तो आगे बढ़ रहा था, लेकिन माता जी भी कोई कम नहीं थी. माता जी लोग ने भी इंडिविजुअली बहुत ग्रंथ वितरण किया है. इंडिविजुअल माता जी ने, ब्रजलीला माता जी विद 3604 महाबिग बुक्स. रेवती करुणा माता जी जस्ट सिटिंग इन टेम्पल, शी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड 955 महाबिग बुक्स. पद्माक्षी हरिप्रिया माता जी विद 796 महाबिग बुक्स. लगता है इस मैराथन में केवल श्याम सुंदर सबसे ज्यादा बुक वितरण करने वाला है. क्यों बोल रहा हूं मैं ऐसा? उसी का आवाज आ रहा है, हरी बोल, बाकी किसी का आवाज नहीं आ रहा है. आप सबको बोलना चाहिए. वे तो मानसी आहूजा माता जी 627 महाबिग बुक्स. साक्षी लीला देवी दासी विद 597 महाबिग बुक्स. शर्मिष्ठा माता जी with 527 Mahabhag books. Madhvi Pyari Mata ji with 396 Mahabhag books. Malti Keshwi Mata ji with 282 Mahabhag books. Shweta Omar Mata ji with 245 Mahabhag books. And Pallavi Dubey Mata ji with 200 Mahabhag books. अब लग रहा है सब जन अच्छे से बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करेंगे. We have to cheer up because ऐसे बोलते हैं कि भक्तों का उत्साह जो है एक दूसरे को प्रेरित करता है. तो यहाँ पर हम अकेले प्रेरित होने के लिए नहीं, लेकिन सबको प्रेरित होने के लिए इकट्ठा हुए हैं, तो सबको उत्साह से बोलना चाहिए. ठीक है, तो इतना तो हमने लास्ट टाइम किया था 1,01,000. इस साल में हमको कितना करना है? सब भक्त तो बताओ कितना करना चाहते हो? 1.5 लाख बता रहे, आपको बता रहे 1.5, 2 लाख, 5 लाख. थिंक बिग. अच्छा, थिंक बिग बता रहे हैं. एनी अदर गेस? हाँ श्याम सुंदर बताओ कितना करना है? हाँ कितना? 1 उंगली, 2 उंगली? 2 बता रहे हैं. डबल इट. तो प्रभुपाद हैड अ फंक्शन एंड फॉर्मूला ऑफ डबल इट. लेकिन हम देखे तुम्हारे भक्त उनको सोचते हुए हमने ज़्यादा टारगेट रखा नहीं, बहुत बड़ा, कम ही टारगेट रखा. आपने जितने सब बोला है उससे कम ही टारगेट रखा है. कितना है हमारा टारगेट? 1,25,000 महाबिग बुक्स. आपको लगता है अचीव हो जाएगा? आप सब जन प्रयास करेंगे? नॉट वेरी बिग टारगेट, जितना लास्ट टाइम किया था उतना ही करना है हमको, थोड़ा ज़्यादा करना है। अगर आपने मान लो 500 किताबें वितरित की तो क्या करना है, केवल 600 किताबें वितरित करने के लिए प्रयास करना है, ज़्यादा नहीं। जस्ट इंक्रीज 10%, 20%, इतना भी करेंगे तो हमारा बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाएगा। तो वी आर प्लानिंग फॉर 1,25,000 महा बिग बुक्स। So one small video.
We're embarking on another great expedition to Lord Chaitanya's movement to expand Sankirtan all over the world. We're going to distribute at least 3 million Bhagavad Gitas worldwide, and we're going to do it by working together. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given unlimited energy to anyone who asks for it to spread the Sankirtan movement. So in every continent, we're asking everyone to gather your inventories of Bhagavad Gita together and find out the ways and means to make sure that everyone in your town, everyone in your country gets a Bhagavad Gita. 3 million is a preliminary number, but it's our next goal to get us where we want to go, to cover the earth with Bhagavad Gita. Please join us in this campaign. We're working together and we're going to distribute the Bhagavad Gita as it is to make the world a better place. People are going insane because they don't have this knowledge. Let's help them. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
तो ये 3 बिलियन किन का टारगेट है? होल वर्ल्ड का है। 3 बिलियन मतलब कितने लाख हो गए? 30 लाख का है। हमें कितना करना है उसमें से? जस्ट 1.25 लाख। हमारा एक छोटा सा है, जैसे भगवान ने गोवर्धन उठाया था उसमें छोटी सी हमने उन्होंने टक्की लगाई थी, तो हमको कानपुर को करना है, राइट? सो जो प्रेजेंट कर रहे थे वो थे इजरेस वैशेषिका प्रभु। ही इज इंस्पायरिंग ऑल द डिवोटीज ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड टू मेक इट हैपन, एंड एवर सिंस ही हैज टेकन दिस मैराथन्स, Bhadra campaign and book distribution marathons, the world is getting more and more energy to distribute more and more books. So he is perfectly following the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. One man, he led the army. Prabhupada says, well, I am one Indian person. At the age of 70, I could do so much. So you are young Indians. How much you can do? So Prabhuji has taken it to his heart and doing wonderful. So we can do our part. Okay. Let us go ahead.
Om Jnana Simarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.
Therefore, our business is somehow or other bring everyone in this Krishna consciousness movement, he will be profitable.
This wise man in saffron crossed the waves, risked his life just to save this place. He showed us the way through the darkness, said he picked us up from the ground every time we fell. Let's just pause for a second, let me think out loud. Said a mind without knowledge is a field unplowed. His books contain wisdom, yet they're fully divine. Every letter seed to grow and save mankind. In today's world, where they lust, greed, and hate, this field of knowledge is the only thing with weight. Every town and village, and every heart and home, every word we utter, we should let it be known that this absolute truth is absolute proof that there's something greater inside me and you. And for this marathon, we can all come along as one world team. Let's just take the mission on, be a giver. Don't shy away. Be a giver.
You know, it's an amazing thing. We don't grow by taking, we actually grow by giving. The more you give, the more you grow. This year, for the Prabhupada Marathon, we're gathering together all the givers of the world, all the devotees who want to give to the people of the world the greatest gift of Srila Prabhupada's books. One world team, all of us together on every part of the planet. Grow by giving.
हम देने वाला बनना है। प्रभुपा जी वही पूछा था जब प्रभुपा जी मैराथन उधर लंदन गए थे, तो रिपोर्टर ने पूछा प्रभुपा जी आप यहाँ क्यों आए हैं? तो प्रभुपा जी बोले मैं आपको लेने के लिए नहीं आया, आपको देने के लिए आया हूँ। आई हैव कम टू गिव। और देने से क्या होता है? व्यक्ति बड़ा होता है। बाय गिविंग यू ग्रो, ये बोल रहे थे ना प्रभु जी। हम जब देते हैं तो हम बड़े बन जाते हैं। तो हमको क्या क्या देना है लोगों को? ट्रांसेंडेंटल नॉलेज, भगवत गीता देना है सबको। सो दिस ईयर टारगेट फॉर आवर मैराथन इज 1 लाख। इतने धीरे से बोले तो कैसा होगा? ऐसा लगता है कि आप 125 भी नहीं कर पाओगे। कितना है? यस। सो देर आर फ्यू लीव टू गिव 22 एंड देर आर सर्टन मैराथन। ठीक है, ये हो गया मैंने बोला। सो अलग अलग स्कीम्स लेकर हम चल रहे हैं ये बार, बहुत सुंदर स्कीम्स है। इसमें से हम विचारों को हमारे फिट करना है कहीं ना कहीं। तो भी ये पहली स्कीम है, दैट इज स्पॉन्सरशिप। डोनेट 101, 201, 501, 1001 गीता, फ्री डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इन स्कूल्स, कॉलेजेस, हॉस्पिटल्स, जेल, विलेजेस। काफ़ी लोग लेते हैं इस चीज़ को। भारत में ये प्रोग्राम काफ़ी स्पॉन्सरशिप आगे बढ़ जाता है। तो हमें प्रयास करना चाहिए ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को मिलकर उनसे बुक देने के लिए। उनको बोलो बुक लो तो वो थोड़े हिच जाते हैं। उनको बोलो दूसरों को देना है, स्पॉन्सर करो, तुरंत बोल देंगे हाँ कर देंगे। एक नहीं 5 करेंगे, एक नहीं 100 करेंगे, इस तरह से। तो ये बहुत अच्छा एक स्पॉन्सरशिप स्कीम है। इसके लिए पैम्पलेट हमारे पास अवेलेबल रहेंगे। हमारी टीम रहेगी पूरी, बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन एग्जीक्यूशन टीम, मैराथन एग्जीक्यूशन टीम, उनके पास से आप सब ले सकते हैं। सेकेंड इज स्टिकर स्कीम। तो जिन लोगों को भगवत गीता के ऊपर अपने स्पेशल स्टिकर चाहिए, अपने शॉप की तरफ से, अपने फैक्ट्री की तरफ से, शादी के लिए, कुछ बर्थडे के लिए, या मरण तिथि के लिए, या इसके लिए अलग अलग चीज़ों के लिए जो है हम यहाँ से अच्छे स्टिकर बनवा सकते हैं, उनको छाप कर दे सकते हैं और उनको वो डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं। सो देयर इज अनदर वेरी वंडरफुल टीम। ये है तीसरी, बिकम अ राधा माधव सेवक। That is donate and distributed 101 Gita and 1 Srimad Bhagavatam set and get a special prize। तो हम में से या हमारे जानने वाले में से हम बोल सकते हैं कि आप राधा माधव सेवक बनो। उसमें क्या करना है आपको? केवल 101 गीता का वितरण करना है और 1 श्रीमद् भागवतम सेट वितरण करना है। तो एक गीता जयंती के महोत्सव के ऊपर आप ये कार्य कर सकते हैं और आप क्या बन सकते हैं? राधा माधव सेवक। नेक्स्ट, फोर्थ, गिफ्ट पैक। तो हम कुछ पैकेज बना रहे हैं, 1 गीता, 1 कृष्णा बुक और कैलेंडर, या 11 गीता प्लस कैलेंडर फ्री। इस तरह से कुछ पैक्स रहेंगे। आपको जाकर हर एक लोगों को शोकेस कराना है, बताने हैं। हर एक शॉप में बोलो या कोई अलग अलग सोसाइटीज़ में बताओ। अलग अलग जो एसोसिएशंस होते हैं, मर्चेंट एसोसिएशन होता है, कोई ग्रॉसरी एसोसिएशन होता है, क्लॉथ एसोसिएशन होता है, इन लोगों को जाके दिखाने हैं। दे विल टेक इट अप। गीता महायज्ञ, डोनेट 11 गीता एंड बिकम अ पार्ट ऑफ गीता महायज्ञ ऑन 14 जनवरी, मकर संक्रांति। तो हम गीता कब करने वाले? गीता महायज्ञ 14 जनवरी को करने वाले हैं। तो उसके लिए सबको प्रेरित कर सकते हैं कि आप इसके पार्ट ऑफ बनो, जस्ट बाय डोनेटिंग हाउ मेनी? जस्ट 11 गीता। 11 गीता को वितरित करना है मकर संक्रांति के लिए। यस। नेक्स्ट, गीता कैनोपीज इन सिटी। तो हम अलग अलग जगह पर ये गीता कैनोपीज लगा सकते हैं। गीता जयंती महोत्सव, ये गीता जयंती महोत्सव, इस तरह से ये शॉप्स में लगा सकते हैं, बड़े बड़े मॉल में लगा सकते हैं। गीता कंपनीज इन सिटीज, स्ट्रेटेजिक पॉइंट लाइक स्टेशन, मॉल्स, रेड लाइट्स, सिग्नल्स एरियाज, यहाँ जाकर हमको ऐसे कैनोपीज लगाए, लोग देखते हैं। एटलीस्ट देखेगा, किसी को कुछ दिखाई पड़ेगा तो क्या करता है? आके देखता है गीता कितने की है, क्या है, देखना चाहता है। नेक्स्ट, रेसिडेंशियल सोसाइटीज एंड फ्लैट्स, यहाँ जाकर भी हम बहुत वितरण कर सकते हैं। गिव न्यू ईयर गिफ्ट पैक, गीता प्लस कृष्णा विद कैलेंडर एंड ऑल्सो रजिस्टर 11 गीता महायज्ञ। तो अलग अलग सोसाइटी में जाने के प्लान कर सकते हैं, या हमारे पहचान में जितने लोग हैं उनको मिलके उनको बोल सकते हैं, आप जा सकते हैं, प्लान बना सकते हैं कि आप नए साल के उपलक्ष्य में गीता और कृष्णा बुक का एक पैक बनाकर उनको कीजिए, या तो 14 जनवरी के जो यज्ञ है उसके लिए आप एक भागीदारी बनो 11 गीता का स्पॉन्सरशिप करके। नेक्स्ट, या तो आप जा सकते हैं पदयात्रा में, रिवो। तो यूपी पदयात्रा, ये भी बहुत उत्साह से आपने देखा, सेकंड नंबर पे है यूपी पदयात्रा, मोर देन 6000 महाबिग बुक्स उन्होंने डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया था। नेक्स्ट, तो इस पदयात्रा का जो प्लान रहेगा, अच्छा ये लोडर पार्टी करेगा, पदयात्रा का क्या प्लान रहेगा? तो पदयात्रा चलते हुए जाएगी झांसी से लेकर चित्रकूट तक, धीरे धीरे इस पूरे महीने में। इस 25 तारीख से शुरू होने वाली है, तो हम में से उनको साथ ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं पदयात्रा में बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के लिए। उसके बाद में सेपरेट एक लोडर पार्टी भी स्टार्ट करने जा रहे हैं। लोडर पार्टी जहाँ पे 4 या 5 भक्त रहेंगे जो 10-10 दिन के लिए बाहर जाएंगे और 2000 ग्रंथों को वितरण करके आए जाएंगे। कैसे? एक लोडर पार्टी निकलेगा 25 तारीख को, एक निकलेगा 25 दिसंबर से 15 दिसंबर के बीच, गलत हो गया वो, 5 दिसंबर नहीं 5 जनवरी होना चाहिए। हाँ 5 नहीं, ओके, जो भी गलती है आपको समझ में आ गया।